Hello, mega exercisers. This is the Muscle Lady here to remind you to exercise your muscle.
Hashtag exercise your muscle.
Ooh, I'm so excited. We are on our third week on the series that we're calling the caterpillar. We've spoken about the first 3 stages of a caterpillar's life on its journey to become this beautiful butterfly, right? The first stage is where it's an egg. Just wakes up one day and it was laid there on some leaf by the female butterfly. Then as it transforms and transitions, it grows then into a caterpillar. And the one basic purpose of a caterpillar is to eat, right? Then after it's eaten, when it's done eating, it just chills and then it creates a pupa. Also called the chrysalis, right? It forms this like shell looking like thing on a leaf and it's just hanging there. But there's so many things that are happening inside this chrysalis before it then transforms and becomes a butterfly. So when we look at our journey of exercising our muscle and we look, to compare it to the caterpillar's life, egg stage is where you identify what your talent muscle is. What were you born, created to be? It's just there, right? Just like the egg, caterpillar egg is just there. You were created by God for something. So the egg stage is when you discover this skill, this talent, natural skill that you're born with, right? Then when you transform into the caterpillar, the eating stage is where you're learning more about this talent that you've been given. You go to varsity, you read books, you get mentors, you're just absorbing as much information as you can about this talent muscle, right? So you're eating, you're gaining a lot of information. Then the last video we spoke about as you transform into the pupa, practice what you preach stage. All this knowledge that you gained as a caterpillar that you were eating and, getting information to be better at who you are or just understanding this gift. How do you get better? How? Now in the pupa stage, you are practicing what you're preaching. So this week we'll still be talking about the pupa stage, but now I want to know what is actually happening inside this chrysalis. What is actually happening? Let's go back to the caterpillar, right? So as it forms this chrysalis or the pupa, there's a lot that's happening. What's actually happening is that the caterpillar now excretes some enzymes, like this protein soup that's happening there, and it starts to digest itself. It's a mess. I read somewhere that if you were to cut that pupa in half, you would just get a mess in there. But a lot is happening with that mess because after it's digested itself, right, it leaves some important cells that it's going to use once it's a butterfly. So the wings come out, the eyes come out, the legs, everything it needs when it is a butterfly inside this chrysalis, in that mess. That is what's happening. As we look at our journey of exercising our muscles, as you're busy practicing what you're preaching, what is actually happening? You're going to create a mess. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to create a mess. What is actually happening? It's a mess. But if you use the learnings from that mess, you are going to create an expert. Take an example. So I don't know a lot of people who learned to drive without bumping the car, right? So here I was, 14, 13, I can't remember how old I was when I was learning to drive, right? So I was, getting better at this, practicing, I'd be told, this is what you do, practice it. So my mom was kind of getting comfortable with me driving alone without her being in the car because I was practicing the knowledge that I had been given, right? But the problem was I had not been taught what those rear view mirrors are, or the side mirrors, or the rear view mirror in the car. I didn't know their purpose. I was not taught that yet. So as I'm practicing what I'm preaching, as I'm practicing the knowledge that I've learned, I'm with my friends in the car, and I'm the only youngster that can drive. Then I need to reverse. I had never reversed until that stage. I put the gear in reverse and I just stood on the accelerator. Didn't look at any mirror, and I was stopped by somebody's yard. I just heard goof. The fence went down, and my goodness, it's a mess. The knowledge that I had learned on driving, I was practicing it, and I created a mess. What is actually happening? It's a mess. So the first thing you have to do after you realize it's a mess, first take ownership. So I had to take ownership. I had to go home and tell my mom, I just bumped somebody's yard with your car, Take ownership, and then there are learnings from every mistake. There are learnings. I had to now learn, this is what these mirrors are for. Look to the back so that you avoid. Now, guys, I'm an expert in reversing. You need an expert reverse driver? Call your girl. The mess, I used it to learn from it, and then an expert was created. The same with your talent muscle. So now you're a baker, right? You've taken 5 orders for the same date. And in that, you create a mess. Like you miss one order, you bring it late or something, a mess happens. It's a mess. Firstly, take ownership of the mess, then learn from it. What are the learnings? Now you can't produce 5 cakes for the same day. You can only produce 4. So what are the learnings? Either outsource or hire extra help when you get more than 4 orders. It's a mess, but there are learnings in there, because if you use those learnings, then you become an expert. While you're gaining experience, while you're applying the knowledge that you gained, there will be a mess. Inside the pupa, as that caterpillar is busy transforming and becoming the next stage that it was created to be, it's a mess. You will make some mistakes. Own the mistakes and then learn from the mistakes, because it's those learnings that are going to make you an expert, make you that beautiful butterfly that you were always created to be. So you run an entertainment company and you outsource some of these services that you give, right? Say you needed somebody to deliver a tent, right, for you to set up. You told them to deliver the night before the event. They don't. It's a mess, because now on the morning of the event, you're running around looking for plan B. It's a mess. Own the mess, but learn from it. Next time, either have more stringent terms and conditions, or never use this supplier again, but have some learnings. Either maybe have them deliver the stuff 2 days before, because it's these learnings that will help you become the expert, the butterfly that you were created to be. While you're gaining experience, there will be a mess. It's a mess, but it's that mess, if you learn from it, that will help you become an expert. When we're hiring interns at the workplace, right? You are expecting them to make mistakes, because where else? You teach them, you give them the knowledge, they eat, they gain all the knowledge, then you give them room to go apply the knowledge. So you give them a scenario or a place to go apply what you just taught them. You accept that they are going to make mistakes, because it's very rare where you learn without making mistakes. So you give them that room for making mistakes. It's a mess. You're going to have to clean up. But if they learn from that, the intern becomes the expert who then gets the permanent job. With your talent muscle, while you're gaining experience, while you're applying the knowledge that you've gained about your talent muscle, you are going to create mistakes. It's a mess, but own the mess and learn from it, because that is what is going to make you an expert in your field, in your gift. You know, when you hear about, they speak about somebody who's an expert in that. They've made a couple of mistakes, but they owned their mistakes and they learned from it. Don't let a mistake just go wasted. Learn from it. Every mistake has a teaching in it. You learn how to do it better, how to avoid it, or sometimes it's stuff that are gonna happen. You understand? So learn from the mistakes or from the occurrences. Learn from it, because those learnings are what is gonna help you to become the expert that you were created to be. While you're applying the knowledge, while you are gaining experience, you will make some mistakes. It's a mess, but own it, learn from it, so that it helps you to become an expert. This also helps you to avoid doing it again. I mean, if you're doing the same mistake over and over and over, that's irresponsibility. Learn from every mistake that you come across as you are gaining experience. In that pupa, the caterpillar, there's a lot happening. It's a mess. But everything that happens in there is what's going to create the eyes, the wings, the legs of the beautiful butterfly it was created to be. You're gaining experience. You are going to make mistakes. This learnings from those mistakes is what's going to help you to become the expert, the true you that you were created to be. An expert knows what to do, what not to do, how to avoid stuff. Why? Because they've gone through that. They've learned their mistakes. You know, they've learned from the mistakes that happened as they were getting to the stage where they are. To become an expert, you are going to make mistakes. Own the mistake, then learn from it, because the learnings is what you use to become an expert. This is the Muscle Lady, here to remind you to exercise your muscle.
Hashtag exercise your muscle.
Thank you for watching this video. I truly value you. If you gained something from this video, please share the link with your family and friends. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you will be notified whenever a new video comes out. Click here for the previous videos on the series, The Caterpillar, and click here for the previous series on sharpening your pencil. Until next time, this is the Muscle Lady, here to remind you to exercise your muscle.